Hey guys, welcome back to the Transformer Slam series. This is going to be episode 4 in which we talk about graphs. So, according to the plan that we have here, by the way, this plan was made with the help of ChatGPT. But yeah, according to the plan that we have here, it suggested that we can use torch summary or torch viz for inspecting graphs. But then after doing some research by myself, I found out that probably one of the best tools available out there for inspecting graphs is Tensorboard. So we will be looking at using Tensorboard to inspect graphs and few other things. I already have the code here, so this time I'm not gonna code everything one by one like how we have been doing so far, just to save time. Anyway, the code is taken directly from the PyTorch tutorials. So without much delay, let's just jump right into it. First, as always, we have some of our imports. Uh, we have some transforms. So basically, what we're trying to do here is, what the transform does is that it tells the data loader pipeline about what kind of transforms do we want to provide. Like for example, how do we want our data to be transformed? In this case, we are telling it that we need to convert it to tensor and we need to normalize it to -1 to 1 by having mean of 0.5 and standard deviation of 0.5. So that's about transform. Here we are loading the data sets. We have seen this many times, and we are loading the data loaders. Here we have some classes that we explicitly provided, referring to the 10 classes that we have in MNIST dataset. This is a helper function that can plot the images. So let's quickly run this. So it says that our data is downloaded. Now we're gonna use this function to visualize some of our data, but before that we initialize our writer. So writer is basically the the tool that we are going to use for all the visualizations and all that is, as I said, is going to be Tensorboard. And this writer is an object for summary writer, which is a class basically, which helps. I mean, it has many functions that can help in visualization. So I'll just move this up here. Make sure that this is loaded. And now let me clear the cell output so that we can see what output it actually generates. I mean, we can see the output being generated live. Okay, so I'll run this as you can see. So our data iter, by the way, this is an iterator. It's inbuilt function by Python for iterables. So where we provide so here we provide the data loader from here, and then we extract the images and labels of that, and then we use matplotlib and some torch pytorch utilities to create a grid, and matplotlib to plot the images in that grid. So that's how we have this here. Okay, so some really basic stuff, nothing much to understand here. Here we have a sample uh, neural net. So this is a convolution neural network, uh, which again, if you would have seen my last video, you can understand that this convolution has a convolution layer and then max pooling layer, again a convolution layer, and followed by 3 linear layers, right? So I'll just initialize the model. Okay, model is initialized. I will initialize my loss criterion. Criterion is the loss which we are using, cross entropy loss. Optimizer is going to be SGD. So so far we have worked with Adam optimizer. We also worked with gradient descent. So SGD is stochastic gradient descent. So that's our optimizer for today. This particular line that you see here is how Tensorboard is loaded into Colab. So we'll load that. So this is specially for not the Tensorboard library, but this is to enable the visualizations, the graphical GUI. So for that, this is there. Okay, now we are going to add the network that we connected here. So this is, sorry, this is our network that we created, which is this, right? And the images that we saw, images we have here, these images that we extracted, we are going to use the Tensorboard writer to visualize those. Okay, now let me just move this up a little bit and also clear the outputs first. Okay, now let me move this up a little bit to show you guys what's happening. So here we were, writer. Let's run this. Okay, now it should be loaded. It will take a little while. Okay, there we have it. Now we can see that when you go to graphs, here is our neural network. So this is a very nice way to actually visualize our neural network. Now when you click on this model, you can see the details of the, basically you can see the architecture of the model. So this is really great to visualize models. Now we also loaded some images, and here under the images tab we have those images. Okay, so nothing really fancy going on here, just way to utilize some tools, but yeah, very useful tool. Now we are going to see a little bit more about few other things that can be visualized in Tensorboard. Another great thing about Tensorboard is that it can also help us visualize the training. So when I say visualize the training, it means that it can help us visualize the losses. So you know that if your loss is like a parabola going towards zero, that means that your model is learning well. So Tensorboard can also help us visualize training. We have some helper functions here that can help us visualize the losses during training. We're not gonna go much into details as this is not really that important. So, and if you want some more explanations about this, these functions, what these functions are doing, then you can just go to the PyTorch documentation about this. I'll leave a link in the description. Uh, so we'll just move ahead and train the model and see the visualizations. Here, by the way, is the training loop, which is very similar to what we have seen so far. So for epochs, it's extracting the data, and then it's initializing the optimizers, and it's running the network, finding output, finding the losses, doing the back propagation, optimizing, same thing what you have seen so far. So this is the main training loop. So I'll just run the training loop. It's training now. We'll take a little while. We'll get back when the training is done. So guys, the training is done, and as you can see, we have already added all the details to the writer. So let's go back to our Tensorboard. Let's refresh it and see what we have. Okay, so now when we go into scalars, here we have our training loss graph plot. So let's zoom in. So as you can see, it also tells the value, the loss value at each point, depending on whatever your iteration, the interval of iteration that you have selected, right? And the overall graph as well. So this is really good. This is really great. This is really handy. Uh, Really useful function to visualize the training. Now, going back, okay, so we are done with the training. Uh, by the way, we also added the figures for plotting the predictions, so it should be here. Okay, so here, if you can see, let me just zoom in again. I hope it's visible. So here we can see that uh, the dataset samples and the predictions and the label is also uh, displayed here under the images section. So this is also again really very handy feature of Tensorboard. Now going back to the training, um, another thing that we can see is the prediction, how good the prediction is. So we usually take the scores of precision and recall for that, and since it's also going to be a graph plot, Tensorboard again can help us in showing that as well, to assess how good our predictions are overall in general. So here again we have some helper functions from the PyTorch tutorial page. I'll just run it, and we have a function here to add the uh, precision and recall curve to the Tensorboard, write it to the Tensorboard, get the values and write it to the Tensorboard. So this is the helper function for that. Now we have run it, and then we'll refresh the Tensorboard again. And under PR curves, we can see is we have our PR curves. So this is for precision, this is for recall. So what it means here is that, you know, with very high precision, we can also get very high recall. So of course we wouldn't want exactly one-to-one recall, because there is a trade-off. But yeah, anyway, in general, this says that at around 0.9322 precision, we also get around 0.962 recall score, and that's quite good. And this is for one class, ankle boot. So similarly, you have for other classes as well, bag, and then you can have it for coat. So this one says that, you know, the training of coat for class coat is not that good compared to these. Why? Because the precision and recall is towards a little lower side. So if you consider a good trade-off, maybe at 0.7, then your precision is at 0.8087 and recall at 0.706. So that could so why this is used is that this can also tell us about the balance of our data, how well our data is balanced. So if the precision and recall is not that good on code, that means that maybe the code data was not as much as back data or the ankle boot data, or it can even mean that the the way our model has learned about class coat is not that good. So it might also be because of things like, coat might be very similar to a t-shirt in terms of features, right? So maybe that could be the reason. Let's actually see the graphs of t-shirt and shirt. So yeah, you see, again, same. Yeah, you see. So this is basically telling us that, model is a bit confused between these classes, not really able to separate out features very well. But anyway, since this is a very simple example and a simple model, it still performs quite good. So yeah, that was about it for visualizing graphs. So the idea of this was just to understand what kind of graphs and plots we can see while training, and how it can be helpful to us, and how tools like Tensorboard can be helpful towards that. So I hope this gave some good idea for what's to come. So what we are going to do is we are going to be visualizing uh, attention maps, and we are also going to be visualizing attention models. So this will come handy during that time. So yeah, in next episode we will see about implementing a simple vision transformer. I am going to skip the data loading tutorial because we have already done that. So yeah, we are going to see about implementing vision transformers, and visualizing attention maps comes after that. So stay tuned.